Okay, John, so this is a quick and dirty little MS-20 tutorial for you. You can see here I have no screw in this area. So you probably have the second generation filter, which is what all the techno geeks like, because it's got a much more squirrely filter on it. It can really scream. You can still try overdriving the filter with the mixer, but you know, whatever. Just play with it and see how you like it. So first things first, oscillator 1, mixer. I've only got oscillator 1 going through. It first passes through the high pass filter, then the low pass filter. The envelope generator 2 is your main envelope generator, not envelope generator 1. Envelope generator 2 is hardwired into the voltage controlled amplifier. To change that, you have to do some patching. I have a patch set up here. All this patch does is it is designed to allow me to control using the mod wheel here and get some modulation. I have it set to a fifth. If I actually had it going, and it would be like that. Which, if you put it through delay, which I'll do, sounds really cool. Anyhow, you get the idea. It's a lot of fun to play with that. That's how you set your patch cables to make that happen. You control the pitch for that modulation using the EG1/EXT. In this case, it's actually EXT, just because of the way I have things patched here. Okay. Let's start over here. This is your waveform, whichever wave you want. Triangle, sawtooth, pulse, with pulse width modulation, and it goes all the way to 0. You can hear how the harmonics come in and out of there, or hopefully you can through this crappy cell phone. And then white noise. And then if I turn that down and I bring up VCO2, we have very similar things. We've got the sawtooth, square, half square, and we actually have a ring mod here too. And I'll get into that later because that's a really unique effect that makes this synth really cool. Okay, sawtooth, let's go square. And let's go square here. Let's bring both of these up. I'm going to bring them to about 7 because that's before they start to saturate. Okay. Well, let's just go back to VCO1 for a second. Frequency ranges, okay? 32 foot, just like on an organ. 16 foot, 8 foot, 4 foot. Oscillator 2 is a little bit different. It goes 16 foot through to 2 foot. Oop, my 2 foot range needs to be calibrated. It's a little flat. Okay, both oscillators together. This is your master tuning. This master tuning. The master tuning here affects oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. So you tune oscillator 1 first using the master tuning, and then you tune oscillator 2 to oscillator 1 to get the right amount of thickness for whatever sound you're trying to make. actually, one of the reasons I chose the square wave as well is because cool things happen with the tuning between two square waves. Like that, you can hear it a little bit. It's not just a beating, there's a variance in amplitude as well as the phasing crosses in certain places. Okay, now filters. First, the high-pass filter. And this is hardwired. And you have got resonance. Oh! And then the low pass. And this is the cool thing that I was telling you about with the mixer. You can hear how when I brought the volume down, the resonance came up, even though it's only, you know, it's got some self-oscillation in it now, even though it's only at 8. But if I bring this up, I just stamp out that resonance, and I actually get a really nice saturation slash distortion happening. Okay, so there's that. Envelope generator. You've got a hold time. So this is kind of cool. It's the hold time applies to the sustain level. So you get the idea. I usually use that in combination with a release time so that I can set my level over at the other end of the studio without having to hold the key down, which is handy. You can hear that also. Oh, I guess I used it and it warmed up and the clicking's gone away, but when I've turned it on today, I had some clicking in here. I often get a little bit of clicking in here as I move things as well. Apparently not today. So it's been used enough lately. Any of these knobs, because they're older, if you just leave them sit and you don't use them, they can develop scratchiness, and you can fix that scratchiness just by turning them, you know, like 50 or 60 times back and forth, and that should get rid of the scratchiness. Obviously, you don't want to listen to that through your speakers because you can, or your headphones, because you can damage those and your ears. So that's something to be careful of. There we go. So you've got your attack, decay, sustain, release. Attack, decay, and release work as you would expect them to. The one that's funky here is the sustain level, and that works in a weird kind of way when you're dealing with the filters and you're using the envelope modulation on the filters. So I'll just show you a little bit of that now. So if I turn that off and I bring that down like that, let's do that. We've got octaves now, which I love this sound on this synth. I can give some volume there too. Some resonance so you can hear that sweep a little bit better. And so I'm just gonna shorten that release time. And what'll happen here is as I bring the sustain level down, the filter will open. Legatos, you don't get envelope re-trigger when you do legato. You play that. You have to do like more of a staccato kind of thing or a detached kind of playing in order to get that envelope to trigger on every note. But if I turn this up now, you'd think it would open the filter more. It doesn't. It opens the filter less. So it's kind of a funny relationship between the sustain knob and the modulation of the filters. And I believe it has the same kind of relationship when we're talking about the high pass filter as well. Let me just bring that into play. Yep, it has a similar kind of thing going on there with the high pass filter. So that's something to be aware of. Love the sound of this synth. What was I going to show you next? Envelope generator 1, you can patch that into the external modulation for the voltage controlled filters as well, using the patch panel here, and that will give you probably a more normal response, what you're expecting. And you can pick up 6 of these patch cables here for not very much money, and 6 is really all you need. I've got another 3 of them here, and they generally sit here and get used on pedals instead of in the patch bay here. The patch bay works in a weird kind of way. There's lots of tutorials online for those. One of the other cool things that you can do here is you can take, you can take the headphone out and take it into the signal in. Oh, let me use one now. You can take the headphone out, put it into the signal in, and you should be able to get some nice distortion. If I remember how to do this at all. And we have to take it out and into external in. Yeah. So probably from here, that's the bandpass filter out and into there. Oh yeah. And you can control a little bit about with that feedback as well. But that can give you some nice, especially down low, that can give you some nice maybe you have to go there. There we go. That's a high pass filter. It says low cut, so you're cutting low frequencies as you turn it up. This is a low pass filter, so you're cutting the high frequencies as you're turning it down. Okay, so that's that little distortion trick there, which is lots of fun. I guess probably the last thing I need, frequency modulation for the pitch. Let's turn that down, and I don't know why that was up. So this is all tied to the LFO. This is your LFO shape. So you've got your sawtooth there, your ramp there, triangle there. If you want square wave LFO, like what I have patched for doing the pitch modulation, you have to get the square wave LFO from here. And that's why I have that patch set up like that. Let's take that out of there too, so it's less confusing. Okay, ring modulation. I'm going to turn, what am I going to do here? Yeah, turn that down. Why is that not working? Aha. Remember what I told you about dirty pots? I have lost oscillator 1. What happened to oscillator 1? Why did I lose oscillator 1? And we'll come back soon. Well, as I was demonstrating things to you, it seems like oscillator 1 has gone on the fritz, and this synth needs to go to the doctor to get that fixed. Which kind of sucks, but there you have it. Old analog synths, that's the kind of thing that happens. I hope this little tutorial helps you. I'll send it to you shortly.